As I enjoy the scenery of this small lake and water fountain, I'm able to relax and benefit from the positive emotions and mindfulness. These are two concepts of positive thinking that prepare the brain for better insights and thinking. By reducing fear and anxiety, positive thinking allows the brain to function better in order to generate plans and examine things in greater detail. Positive thinking empowers the brain to get faster results with greater overall efficiency. Today I'm here talking about neuroscience, where it came from and how it relates to leadership, and how I can apply it to become a better performer. So, I'm here discussing neuroscience. I'm Beverly Naylor at Aspen University doctoral student, and it is June 2019. Neuroscience is a scientific study of how the nervous system develops, its structure, and what it does. The field's focus is on the workings of the brain, and although it was originally classified as a subdiscipline of biology, it is now being used in a multitude of fields such as mathematics, linguistics, engineering, and psychology. That is, neuroscience enables us to take a closer look at how the brain and its components help us to function. Neuroscience demonstrates that there are neural connections to the brain that can help us to better understand the interconnectedness of the brain and behavior. Rather than solely analyzing our attitudes and behavior, neuroscience provides the perspective of how the brain and nervous system influence what we do. So where did neuroscience come from? Well, the idea that the brain affects what we do is not new. However, the science that validates it is new. Approximately 4,000 BC, the Sumerians noted that the poppy plant created a euphoriant effect. Today we can clearly identify this effect as being related to the effects of opium, morphine, codeine, and heroin, which are all derived from the milky latex found in the poppy's unripe seed capsule. Hippocrates stated that epilepsy was a phenomenon of the brain. Today, while there's still much to be discovered, we know that epilepsy is related to brain electrical activity. Plato discussed the brain as the center of mental processes. Today, we often compare the brain to the central processing system of the computer. Today, we can use brain imagery to examine how the brain works when presented with a task or challenge. The functional magnetic resonance imaging measures the blood flow as a correlate of brain cell neuronal activity. The first magnetic resonance image was published in 1973. The first studies were done in 1977. The first written articles were published in 1992. And since that time, the field has been expanding. Science is still trying to determine what it means when the brain lights up. So how does neuroscience relate to leadership? Neuroscience, through the use of functional magnetic resonance imaging, provides a glimpse inside the brains of leaders, which enables us to align external behavior with the internal understanding. Brain anatomy on its own is too abstract to be of particular use. However, when placed in the context of personal or organizational development, neuroscience can provide tremendous insight. Neuroscience provides a scientific insight on how to improve leadership behaviors without jeopardizing the employee's motivation, retention, or bottom line. Neuroleadership focuses on applying neuroscience to leadership development, management training, change management education, and consulting, and coaching. Neuroscience has shown that the act of receiving either positive or negative feedback can trigger an emotional reaction in the brain, in the area of the brain that controls survival. So what happens when there is a positive relationship between employee and leader? Well, according to functional magnetic resonance imaging, or functional MRI technology, 14 regions of the brain are activated as opposed to only 6 with a dissonant leader. This indicates that the positive relationship increases attention, increases compassion, and decreases negative emotions. With a poorer leader, the opposite occurs. Attention decreases, compassion decreases, and negative emotions increase. Studies have also shown that trust is more than a subjective experience, but rather has a physical connection to the brain. Research has revealed that the brain releases oxytocin, which can make a person more receptive to feeling trust toward a stranger. That is, science has shown that the brain actually determines trustworthiness. Do you ever get gut feelings? Neuroscience has shown that gut feelings are real and can be helpful in leadership development. It has a real neurological basis that results in physical changes to the body, like increased heart rate, sweating, blushing, and goosebumps. Rather than suppressing gut feelings, neuroscience is building a case for considering these feelings. In high-risk situations, the gut feelings can be used to stop leaders from overly optimistic decisions. So how can neuroscience be applied in leadership development? Well, first we can educate leaders about the link between the brain and the importance of building positive relationships with employees. Neuroscience has demonstrated that this can actually open pathways in the employee's brain that encourage engagement and positive working relationships. So pay attention to relationship building. Second, pay attention to the trust levels. And third, pay attention to gut feelings. In change management, we can see that fear is an issue to contend with. Fear is associated with change, and the brain perceives fear as a threat. As the brain and body go into response mode to deal with the threat, an explosion of negative emotions are released. Anxiety leads to thinking becoming muddled, and the brain and body resist the perceived threat. Here, the leader needs to try and reduce the stress and anxiety by focusing on the positive aspects of the change, asking questions, and listening to the employees. The employees aren't just trying to resist the change out of the sheer sake of resistance. There's an issue going on in their brain. This process enhances the brain's ability to adjust in response to the change and decrease the level of threat perceived until it is non-existing. In order to promote creativity, innovation, one needs to reduce anxiety by providing the brain with unfocused time that is free of distractors such as email, phone calls, and other distractors that draw one away from the task, and in doing so, increase anxiety. To help managers use this new neuroscience information, David Rock developed a model that targets the top 5 social rewards and threats. SCARF: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. These 5 factors will either activate a primary reward or a primary threat in the brain. Thus, a perceived sense of certainty, being able to predict the future, will be seen as a reward. The brain craves this certainty and predictability, and when a change occurs so that there is a change in certainty and predictability, the brain activates the limbic system, putting it on alert, the fight or flight mode to survive. So how can neuroscience benefit my work setting? By being better aware of how the brain functions, I can work at making people feel safer, demonstrating fairness, and finally being genuine, and ensuring that I show trust in others. Finally, I can take better care of myself through practices such as positive emotions and mindfulness. Happiness has been scientifically shown to affect what we remember. Pillay states that research also shows that happier people achieve greater success when people are making decisions about them. Thus, as I start my new position and I'm concerned about social perceptions, knowing that happier women are viewed and perceived as being more dominant than sad women will be helpful. Mindfulness is the capacity for self-awareness. Pillay cites Walsh and Francis 1993 as stating that there exists within us unexplored creative capacities, depths of psyche, and states of consciousness, undreamed of by most people. Pillay states that psychological mindfulness involves the non-judgmental acceptance of our thoughts and feelings and body sensations and does not analyze them. Research is finding that mindfulness is a powerful state that can significantly reduce anxiety and worry. It also decreases negative thoughts that enter the mind. Further, it provides the opportunity to escape focusing on issues. Research has shown that when we pay attention to pain and challenging tasks, that the pain and challenge become greater than when we don't pay attention. It's like holding a pencil in front of your face. The closer the pencil is to your eyes, the larger it is, until you can't see anything but the color of the pencil. When you pull the pencil away, you can read the writing on the pencil. A little further away, and you can see the pencil in perspective to the paper. A bit further, and the pencil becomes the non-threatening tool that it is meant to be. If we focus too much on the pain or on the challenge, the anterior cingulate cortex perceives it as a threat, and the intensity of pain or challenge is greater. If we change the focus on the subject, then the anterior cingulate cortex is not in a state of conflict and frees up brain's resources for thinking and decision-making. Knowing that I can be a strong performer if I allow my brain some downtime from stress, taking action to reduce stressors on the brain will help me think more clearly and be more productive. Being aware that there can be many negative situations during the day that can cause anxiety and worry, reducing anxiety and worry will help me to think more clearly and be more productive. And as we can see, these birds, which wouldn't come near me prior to sitting down and being still, have come near me. The threat of my being here has been reduced. This finishes my presentation on neuroscience.